Well, good morning everybody. Now take a good look at the slide. What is this? Songket. Of course, there's a big word that says Songket. But what is the truth behind Songket? Well, you are looking at one of the biggest irony in Palembang. Because Songket is a cultural and heritage in Palembang that the Palembang people love. But actually, in the process of making Songket itself, is when the process of making Songket, when the textile fabric was drowned inside the dye will be thrown out to the Musi River unprocessed. Why unprocessed? Because, well, most Songket industries are categorized as middle-class economy industry or lower-class economy industry. So, according to that problem, when Songket's dye is contaminated the river, well, there are going to be a lot of problems. First of all, the dye can block the penetration of sunlight and thus reducing the amount of photosynthesis. Second of all, the dye in the river can actually be decomposed by the bacteria and thus creating an amino aromatic compound which is apparently more toxic than the dye itself. According to that problem, me and my team has a theory that rice straws can be used as a potential Musi savior. Why rice straw? Well, first of all, rice straw contains cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, the compounds that are actually needed to absorb. Second of all, the rice straw itself, it has pores. That means it can absorb something. And the third of all, we have a theory. Actually, two theories. The first is the chemical bond in the rice straw can actually be attracted to the chemical bond in the dyed water. For example, as you can see, this hydrogen can be attracted to this chloride because it has the biggest affinity power and thus creating chloric acid, and the oxygen in cellulose will automatically fill up the empty spots in right here, and thus creating the bond between the rice straw and the dye. That's the first. Second of all, there will be a hydrogen bond. Well, we all know in high school, first grade high school, that hydrogen bond is stronger than polar bond. It's stronger than non-polar bond. And that means the nitrogen in the dyed water can actually be attracted to the hydrogen in the rice straw, and thus creating a hydrogen bond. So the preparation of making this rice straw to be processed is the first that you, well, prepare the rice straws, of course. You cut it to 1 centimeter each. You clean it in water, and then you dry it out. But mere rice straws itself cannot have the maximum potential that it should be. So, according to the research that my team read back in 2011, the activation, if the rice straws are activated with natrium hydroxide 15%, it will open up the pores on the rice straw. That's one. It can remove the dirt. It can remove the oil that is in contact with the rice straw, and thus maximizing its potential to be an absorbing agent. So we did an activation process by drowning it in nitrium hydroxide 50%, and then we dried it up, and then we clean it with water until it's neutral. Now, because we cannot afford a photospectrometry, unfortunately, we created standard samples, which are the samples that we can compare to the samples that will be applied with the rice straws. We have 4%, 2, 1, 0.5, and 0.25%. The next is we created 6 samples, and actually there are 2 groups, 3 samples each group. The first group will be applied with non-activated rice straw. The second group will be applied with activated rice straw. And these are the samples, as you can see. Now, the result of investigation, it is obvious that this, the laser pointer, is non-activated rice straw. And this is the result. This is the activated rice straw, and this is the result. Well, we can actually look, right? The obvious result is that when activated with rice straws, the effectiveness, the dye that absorbs is more than the dye absorbed when non-activated rice straw. And according to some calculations, we have proven that activated rice straws have the effectiveness of approximately 80%, which is 20% more than non-activated rice straw. So, the conclusion, non-activated rice straw versus activated rice straw, of course, it has 20% more effectiveness, and thus making the natrium hydroxide is extremely recommended to absorb dye. And the next, this is the picture of the rice straw that has absorbed dye. What can you conclude from this? First, potential multi-savior, yeah, rice straw can be used. Second of all, does it give you a promising result? 80%? I guess it's relatively good. But is it still applicable in real life? Can we actually use it in Musi River? Because apparently, like what I said last night, in Musi River there is some things that you don't want to know. And yes, it is feces. But this may not be the potential. This may not be the Musi savior itself. No. But let me rephrase that. This is not yet the potential Musi savior. Thank you for your attention.